In this week's action-packed episode of Naruto Shippuden, Guy and Madara finally have their epic battle, and Naruto has a fateful encounter with the Sage of the Six Paths, Hagoromo Otsutsuki. Despite the fact that this week's episode doesn't have the best animation and it's not exactly what I was expecting, I have to say that this was definitely the most exciting episode of Naruto that I have seen in quite some time, and an episode that any Naruto fan should definitely check out, especially if you only watch the anime version, because there are some important details in this week's episode. Not only is the first half dominated by the awesome battle between Madara and Guy, but in the second half of the episode, Naruto finally gets to meet the Sage of the Six Paths. But first, let's talk about that battle between Guy and Madara, which has only just started, by the way. This is just the beginning of their battle, and already, it's pretty freaking impressive, because Guy is known as a taijutsu master, and he's not holding back. He has opened up all of his inner chakra gates, and he is unleashing the power of the Evening Elephant, which is this amazing taijutsu punch, where when he punches the air, this massive stream of air flows out and literally takes the form of an elephant's foot, which completely destroys Madara. He punches him right into the ground, and he doesn't just hit the ground and that's the end of it. Oh no! He buries this dude, like hundreds of feet below the earth, and Madara himself is even shocked and realizes if he gets caught by this attack a couple of times, he's pretty much screwed. So what happens right after this? He gets punched multiple times by Guy, and I love how they do it, where basically he punches a different direction in the air, Madara gets stuck, he goes around to another area, punches again, and he literally has him stuck in this giant torrent of air right before he's getting ready to finish him off. And then he also gets a little bit of help from Rock Lee and from frickin' Minato Namikaze and Kakashi, and they do this really big combination technique which involves Kakashi's Kamui and of course Minato's teleportation abilities, which allows Guy to hit Madara point blank, sending him skidding across the battlefield. And yet, even after all of the damage that he has sustained, guess what? Madara still wants to fight. In fact, he's really excited over the prospect of fighting against someone who actually has the ability to open up all of their inner chakra gates. You can tell this dude's just got a total hard-on for battle, and it's going to be amazing from here. But right after that, we transition to Naruto, who is not dead. In fact, he's actually talking with one of his ancient ancestors by the name of Hagoromo Otsutsuki, otherwise known as the Sage of the Six Paths. The introduction of these two characters is really funny. I thought it was hilarious in the manga version. It's even funnier with the voice acting here because Hagoromo Otsutsuki, the Sage of the Six Paths, talks in this old-school formal dialect that Naruto frankly just can't process. He has no idea what he is saying, and his facial expressions are so funny throughout this episode. And it takes a good couple minutes before he can even start to understand what he's saying, and that's really important because we get a lot of big backstory this week. So, originally, while reading the manga version and watching the anime, I always assumed that Naruto was kind of like the reincarnation of the Sage of the Six Paths because of his new look, especially with his brand new Kurama forms. But in fact, we learn in this week's episode, Naruto is actually the reincarnation of the son of the Sage of the Six Paths, Ashura. We also get to learn, of course, that Hagoromo has a mother who was godly powerful, and her name was Kaguya Otsutsuki, the Rabbit Goddess. She apparently was one of the most powerful beings in the entire Naruto universe, and is effectively the very first person in the series who actually has the power of ninjutsu, or, excuse me, as Hagoromo calls it, Ninshu, the Ninja Creed. This is what he originally created when both he and his brother sealed away the Ten Tails. This is another really big deal because we never really knew that he had a brother. Eventually he went on to become this legendary ninja. He had two sons, Indra and Ashura, and Naruto just so happens to be the reincarnation of Ashura. I wonder who the reincarnation of Indra is. Naruto ends up getting a little ninja history lesson and learning about his ancient ancestors Indra and Ashura, how they battled each other, and how eventually Ashura actually gained the power of his brothers and was able to battle him on equal footing. There's even a small part in the flashback where you get to see he's using a power very similar to Kurama. He has multiple arms, which of course is a nice reference to the actual god Ashura, and I think that's a really clever thing. You of course have Indra who's using the Susanoo ability, but the episode ends and you just gotta take it all in. and it's awesome. So what's the rundown on this week's episode of Naruto Shippuden? This episode wasn't as bad as I was thinking it was going to be, because going into it, I honestly thought they were just going to completely ruin all of the Guy and Madara stuff, and it could have looked better, but for what it was really good. And we got to remember, this is actually just the beginning of their battle. Guy, in many ways, hasn't even started yet. Madara is still exciting in the battle, and it's really hard-hitting and impactful. Every single scene where he throws the punches, or when Madara is skidding across the battlefield, you can just feel the pain and the impact from every single blow. It's freaking incredible. And then there's the second half of the episode, which I honestly thought was really great. I especially love the fact that they're actually hanging out in that weird water room, and whenever they're actually doing the flashbacks, they're actually looking into the pool of water, and you can actually see the ripples coming through in the flashbacks. I think that was a really nice attention to detail. That, and of course, just the hilarity of Naruto trying to understand what the Sage of the Six Paths is saying. I think that's pretty hilarious. So, obviously, if you read the manga version, you know what's going to happen, but, like, fans who've just been watching the anime version, I think you can pretty much assume that because Naruto is the reincarnation of Ashura, that Sasuke is going to be the reincarnation of Indra, and that's just something that we're going to have to see, especially in the next episode. If you look at the preview, it looks like our good boy Sasuke is going to be returning, and that's only going to get even better from here. This is really the turning point of the series. This is when things are really going to get insane. One of the biggest details about this week's episode, though, and one that is going to send a ripple through the Naruto universe, is of course the formal introduction of Kaguya Otsutsuki, who was actually sort of teased in the intro of the show. Same thing for the Sage of the Six Paths, so there really isn't any spoiling there, so don't get mad if I use the Sage of the Six Paths in my thumbnail, because you've been seeing him for months, guys. It's not really that big a deal. But we're now starting to learn a little bit more about him and his past, the creation of ninja, which originally was known as ninshu. And what I think is really cool about this is that apparently it was used for peace. It was not used to bring about conflict, and it was only when ninjutsu was created or used that all of these wars and different villages were starting to be built, and then they all just started killing each other. Just freaking-sane. On the technical side of things, this was still a pretty good-looking episode. It wasn't perfect. There was a little, like, jerky movements in some of the battle, and some of the artwork was a little wonky, but still, it was impactful, it was badass, it was fun, and it was exciting, and this week's episode was also pretty well-paced. I really liked it a lot. The first half was all action, the second half was Naruto meeting the Sage of the Six Paths, and that is all incredibly important information. The introduction of Kaguya, and not only that, but getting to learn that Naruto is indeed the reincarnation of the son of the Sage of the Six Paths. All I have to say is, guys, tune in from this point on. Things are going to get insane. And this was a really great episode to get things popping off. So I'm going to give this week's episode right here a 4 out of 5. Not a perfect episode, some animation and artwork flubs, but despite that, this was a pretty damn solid episode of Naruto Shippuden that any fan of the series should definitely check out. If I had a favorite scene from this week's episode, I would have to say it's probably just watching Guy wail on Madara. Especially that one scene where he was running around him and then started using the evening elephant multiple times and trapping him in the air current. Everything about that looked awesome. I loved the look of it, and I really hope that the next episode is going to up the ante a little bit more, because both Madara and Guy still have a little bit more in their battle, and there's even more stuff coming after that. So let's get really excited, guys. So I love this episode. 4 out of 5 from me. Check it out, Naruto fans. Whether you've read the manga version or you're continuing to watch the anime version, you gotta check out this week's episode. So I really liked this one a lot. It was a pleasant surprise. But what about you guys? Did you watch this week's episode of Naruto Shippuden? What did you think of the battle between Guy and Madara, and what do you hope to see from the rest of that? And what did you think about the shocking revelation that Naruto is the reincarnation of the son of the Sage of the Six Paths? And please tell me what you hope to see from the rest of the Naruto Shippuden anime series in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching my review. Make sure to like it, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. Follow us on social media. Thank you guys again for watching, and as always, stay dandy, baby.